puzzle it all together.
I've got to ask you to clear up a few Tyson Fury myths, shall we call them that? First of all, I'm retired, you said last year.
I was retired, yes.
Was it a full night or 2 days or
I don't
one
know
day?
how long it was. It's been 10 months. I was retired. It was an official retirement statement, but now I'm back.
Because, I mean, in all fairness, I understand your frustration and the fact that you weren't getting the breaks that maybe you should have been getting. But looking, as you gaze forward into 2014, do you see those chances coming, those gaps, those breaks coming your way?
They need to do something, because I'm 21-0, and I need something shot straight away. I need some big fights.
Wasn't just Tyson having a frustrating time, Pete. It was tough for you. You know, for a start, you've got to get an athlete ready. He's got to lose weight. He's got to get ready. You've got to prepare things. It's been a bit of a nightmare, hasn't it, since the Cunningham fight?
Well, you know, we just got to move on, haven't we? That's last year. This is this year. So, you know, what can you say? You know, you can't help what other people's going to do. You know, not good boxing business, is it? It's not good business.
Not good business, period.
Not good business treat people like that at all. You know, you go into a fight and there's no... These injuries keep cropping up. And, you know, what can you say about it?
How nervous were you, or were you nervous, that it would have a bad effect on Tyson? Because, you know, you're working him, you know, getting him to that state, he's getting ready for a big fight, and not one, but two fall out of bed, when everything, so I know, because I was talking to you, was going well. Did you have to monitor him a little bit closely?
Not really, you know, look, he's going to be disappointed, you know. When you've gone in these training camps, on world-level training camps, you put your body through a hell of a lot, you know, and it's all of a sudden being told, you go through all of that, and then you're not boxing. So it's going to have an effect. You know, the retiring business and all that, it's just anger and frustration mixed up.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Of emotions, isn't it? And, you know, we move on. We're certainly not going to let somebody, you know, of that stature put us down, so as we keep going on about it. It's getting to be like a broken record now, to be honest.
No, listen, I agree, and the reason why I wanted to start with that, I wanted to get rid of it.
Exactly.
And seal it, close it, put it in a box over here, and let those people do what they want to do. You've got to do what you're going to do. And Tyson, you've been doing it an awful long time. Now, when you first started out as a pro, we used to have quite a laugh. Not at your expense, we used to do it, but, you know, we used to say, you know, look at you, looks like Errol Flynn, you used to have that big suit on, and then Mick Hennessy pointed out that when you were born, you weighed less than a pound of sugar. I mean, at least give us a pound of sugar. We had you weighing half a pound. It's been a long time. You've been fighting an awful long time, haven't you?
Long time, seems like, anyway.
Yeah, and when you first went into a gym, and obviously boxing, fighting is part of your traveller culture, part of what you know, your dad was a pro fighter, part of what you do, part in your DNA. But how old were you when you first walked through the doors of a gym?
The first time I walked in the door, I could have been anywhere from 5, 6, 7, because, like you said, my dad was a fighter, and I used to go to the gym and watch him train and just mess around in the gym as a kid. I've been brought up in the gym, really, from being young, but I never really started for myself until I was about 14, 15.
Were you, how big were you then? Were you, obviously you weren't 19 then, but were you still big then?
Yeah, at 14, 15, I was about 6'4" or 5.
Oh, shoot, so it's hard to get your fights.
Stone.
So hard to get your fights?
I only had one fight when I was 16, and I had to wait until I was a senior, 17, till I could fight again. So
were you getting your experience in gyms sparring with men, I'm assuming?
There wasn't really much sparring as an amateur fighter, really, at the beginning anyway. And then I went into a few championships and won them, and then I started boxing from an early stage in my career, say 6, 7 fights, boxing for the national team. And I was getting busy all the time, and plenty of sparring and plenty of fights.
And at that time, Tyson, were you concentrating on the amateur side of it, or did you know that it really wasn't going to be for you? Did you know inevitably you'd go pro?
To be honest, I never ever thought I'd have an amateur fight. I just thought I'd just turn professional when I was old enough. But I got involved in it, and ended up things went from one thing to the other. I got confused with the Olympics and all that stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't really interested in amateur boxing, to be honest. It was all about being a professional. It was just apprenticeship, really.
Yeah, purely an apprenticeship. So just a way to get a few fights under your skin and get a few basics.
Probably that was what was going on back then. But, you know, I never took it serious at all. I was training a few days, and that was it, really.
Peter, when you started working with Tyson, you know, obviously all trainers want to bring a little bit to the table. You're doing this, you're doing a little bit of this, you're doing a little bit of that. It's still a work in progress. What, you know, technically, what work do you do day to day with him, working on little bits and pieces?
Well, at this stage of his career now, he's fine-tuning things. There's always room for fine-tuning things, but he knows the basics, and it's all about maturing as a fighter. You know, getting that maturity there, mental maturity and everything else. So he's just progressing all the time. You know, he's a young heavyweight, and there is no real setbacks for him because he's gaining all the time. You know, he's had hard camps last year. He's gained a lot from that.
And some hard fights.
Yeah.
You know, to where we are now, I've had some hard fights.
You know, he stepped up to the plate, hasn't he? You know, and he's come through them. So he's seasoned. He knows what the boxing job's all about. You know, it's from strength to strength, really.
Tyson, when you were a bit younger, I remember reading a piece that one of your training methods that you'd get together with your dad, your brothers, your cousins, probably your uncles. You do a lot of wrestling, a lot of strength, a lot of sort of...
Yeah.
You still do that because people laughed at me. I was telling someone, I said, that's brilliant now. I hadn't thought about that, but it's absolutely brilliant.
To be honest, we used to play this game where we'd all get in the front garden and we'd all like shove each other and push each other like a test of strength and power, really.
Yeah.
There were about 5 or 6 of us used to do it regular, but I don't do it anymore because
you
get thrown about, and I've got a big brother. You jump on top of me. And
You've got a big brother.
Well, he's my little big brother.
He's your little big brother. Did you ever win any of those?
Probably not. I'm always pretty weak wrestling. But when you're messing with men who's like 25 stone in the body and this big, and I'm like trained down to 18 stone, they just throw me about like a rag doll. I've got to try and get him in an armbar or a headlock to try and choke him out or something.
Something technical. The only way to do it. Now, Pete, your methods of training, I mean, you were training, I used to talk about some sort of mysterious forest in Belgium, and now you're training in the south. I sold it well. And then they're training in the south of France. But what I also like is you keep taking the kids on these mad journeys. Like they go in the back of your van and you go off to a lake in Switzerland, or you drive down to Spain for some horse festival or something. It's like you're having a laugh, or like having a bit of a good time.
Just living up to our travelling culture, you know.
Just getting on the road.
Travelling all around these exotic places.
All around these places, you know. Even on a flat we've got some wheels painted on the side just to give you a time.
But it also because you know you and I talked about before. I imagine Tyson's here. Heavyweights have generally got like goldfish. They haven't got a lot of patience, have they? You know, you got to give them something new all the time. Otherwise, they get bored, and if they get bored, that's when they start losing their way a little bit.
Look, we're a family, and we all enjoy each other's company. We have a laugh, and this is what it's about. You know, win, lose, whatever we're going to do, we're going to do. But one thing for sure, when they step up to that ring, they're 100% ready.
Yeah.
There's no danger on that. There's no excuses after.
Yeah,
you know, what happened here, what happened there. You lose, you win, you win. There's no in between.
No, you turn pro, Tyson. You're working for you're taking care of business. You're taking care of business. You had a bit of a blip against Big John McDermott first time round.
Yeah.
It was a close fight. It could have gone the other way, and I think I be honest with you, if it had gone the other way, you couldn't have screamed. You got the decision on the night. You gave him a rematch. What was it in that fight that went wrong, or was it just that John fought out of his skin for 10 rounds?
No, it was the fact that it was my first year as a professional. I had 7 pro fights.
Yeah, good point.
And he was the seasoned campaign with 30
10-year
fights.
veteran, yeah.
Yeah, and coming off a 2 split decision losses to Danny Williams, who was on form at the time. There was no excuses. I was a young kid, 20 years old, in there, over my head really. Wasn't ready for somebody like that. Especially first year as a pro, 7 fights. It was a tough fight to stick anybody into. But, you know, come through it, flying colours. Only done me the world of good, really.
Yeah.
Because they'd done him in the
fairness,
rematch like a few months later, 10 months later. But still done it.
Knowing how tough that fight was, and it was a hard old battle. Looking back on that, if you'd have lost that decision, do you think you'd be a different fighter now?
Probably not. You know, that hard fights like that has made me the man I am today. Or else I wouldn't be in this position. If I couldn't fight and if I wasn't mentally tough and strong as I am, I wouldn't have come through the hard fights I've had. I'm the real deal, real McCoy. When it comes to fighting and building heavyweights, Maker's done a brilliant job with me because you give me hard fights, good fights, all the way through.
Are you afraid of losing?
No.
In the programme?
Not at all. If I lose, and I lose because the man's better than me, then not a problem. But if I go in there unprepared, which is not going to happen now, then it would have been a crying sin, wouldn't it?
Because after McDermott, it's not like the fights got easier. You had a couple of other fights where you were wobbled, touchdown, then we move up to Steve Cunningham. You had the type that, you know, I'm not being an after-timer here, but you had the type of fights that heavyweights should have, whereas David Price, you know, I like Price, he's a friend of mine, I think he just had an easy 18 months. It was too easy. When it got hard, he hadn't been in the places you'd been, because you've been caught, you've been hurt, you've been wobbled. I remember there was that one fight, was it in Ireland, when the entire ring looked like it was about to be invaded, because you were hurt in that fight.
Yeah, it was. I've been through it all. I've experienced it all. Broken hands in fights, everything wobbled, losing vision, touching down. And if I didn't have the cojones I've got to keep getting back up and keep steaming forward, then I wouldn't be in this position today, would I?
You know, it's really funny. You know, even people that don't like Tyson, that dismiss him, you know, punters, and even some people in the professional business. Let's get it. We're in a business where everyone hates, and we know that. You know, it's a business we've got to check your back all the time. And the one thing they all say about you, they say about Tyson, they say, but you know what? He's got the biggest, as you put them, cojones in the business. He may be this, he may be that, but he's got the biggest cojones in the business. No, he can be knocked out. He can be outboxed, but he's got the biggest cojones in the business. Yeah, it's always the final line.
It all out, doesn't it, for some reason? Because one thing these heavyweights are lacking today is them.
Yeah.
They can all be boxers, or they might have all big power,
bangers,
but they can't get up and they can't recover. They don't know how to hold on. They don't know how to survive.
And is that because they've been maybe held back a little bit when they were developing? Should have had harder fights. What do you think?
I think it's a natural instinct inside a person. Not everybody's got it. Some people have. You're born with it. And you bring it through life, and it gets bigger and better every time.
But that's also something that you need to check sometimes in the corner in the gym, Peter. Just that little bit of bravery or not.
Yeah, you know,
you could put it back a little bit.
Boxing's not called boxing for nothing, is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's about you know, at this stage as well. It's not about just pleasing the crowd. It's about tactics, game plans in place, and you know. It is a game of chess at this level.
It is a game of chess, but then, as Tyson said, once someone hits you on the chin, you either go down or you're hurt, and you say you start to lose your vision, then it's just about pure. It's as basic as it gets.
Well, look, if you ain't been put in fights and you know you've been coaxed along because some promoter wants to cash in on his ticket, then this is what happens.
Yeah.
There's too much of a business involved with the heavyweights. They're frightened of getting wet. Yeah. You know, so what happens when they get in with a contender? They fall apart.
Yeah.
And it's the way, like you said, Price, a good example.
Yeah.
He putting everybody over, you know, the right hand, that's all he needed. His trainer back then, if David hits with that right hand, you know, possessed with the right hand.
Yeah.
You need more than a right hand to be a world champion. You need everything.
Yeah.
And this is what happens, they fall short. We've seen it time and time again over history, especially with the heavyweights.
Yeah.
You know, listen, it's what happens when you get banged.
Yeah.
Where you're at. And then we see if they want it or not. But look, it ain't a good thing getting banged, it ain't a good thing going over, is it? You know, at the end of the day, it's a mistake. You know, tighten up your defence for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And do your job, box properly, because sometimes he can make a hard fight, he can make an easy fight an hard fight, because he wants to go in there and chin him. He wants to turn it into a fight outside, you know, because this is how he sees it. But look, you know, things are changing, and you know, we see things are on a lot more serious level now.
And of course, clever fighters exploit that. They know they can drag you in, which is a bit like what Steve Cunningham did. Steve Cunningham, in my opinion, he thought about. He looked at you, I think, and he thought, "Well, hold on a minute. He's beaten me verbally, because that was a fantastic press conference. That press conference when it all hell went loose. It was they could have.
Tyson beats everybody verbally.
I mean, but the Americans had no idea what had happened. It was staggering. I mean, you know, they start doing their usual thing, don't they? Then can you remember some of the stuff you said to him? I know you sort of said to him, "Listen, why is it every time I'd listen to an American, you've always been brought up in the ghetto. Everyone you know has been shot." It's true. And you saw them. They couldn't believe that you were going back at them.
Yeah, it's one of them things. Do you know, when it comes to talking, Steve, there's far and few between, especially heavyweights. I don't know why it is, but the bigger they are, the dafter they are for some reason. Half of these haven't got a brain cell between them. It's like big empty heads, like sit there with the big arms and they go, yeah. But you know what it is? It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just, I'm so confident in my own ability.
Yeah.
And like Peter said, we've got to listen to game plans at world levels and all that.
Yeah.
But I always know if that game plan ain't going how it should be and I'm losing, I ain't a loser, I'm a winner. And whatever it takes to win, I will do. If it takes me to get that much on top of him and lean on him all night and hit him from the inside like that, then that's what I'll do. If I have to box him, I'll do that. If I have to go head first into him, let him wear himself out punching me in the face, then that's what I'll do. When I'm in that ring, everything's on the line. You might have heard people say that before, but when everything's on the line, they might settle to lose on points, jibbing and jabbing and running away around the ring. But in my opinion, I would rather go in there and get flattened completely, trying to win, rather than settle to lose on points. Because what are you when you've lost on points? You're a loser anyway. Yeah. You get carried out, you lose on points, you've still lost. So that, to me, isn't an option. I'm going to swing to the rafters until I either get you or you get me. If the game plan ain't going right.
Yeah. Because you know you've got that as backup.
Especially if I know in my own mind that I need a knockout to win.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and jib and jab around and try and get a points decision when I know I'm not going to get one. Yeah. So it's all or nothing. And when it's all or nothing and everything's on the line, you might see me get emotional in there, you might see me do crazy things. But it's all because I want to win so bad. And there's nothing or nobody at that night is going to make me stop to do what I'm going to do unless they knock me out.
That Cunningham fight, Peter, was it tough for you watching it from afar? Because especially, you know, because when you went down, Tyson, it's fair to say, you know, it took you a couple of rounds. You were hurt then.
Yeah, of course.
You know, he'd landed he looked for that punch. He was looking, and landed it. Was it tough for you watching from afar?
Well, yeah, because we had a 6-week training camp, and as soon as that first bell went, the training camp was out the window. You know, I was looking at another fight entirely, what we've worked on. So we was looking at a fight where Tyson was going to live up to his expectation and say, right, you're getting chinned, and I'm going to do you. Yeah. So basically, that's what happened. Yeah. So it was him. It was an OK Corral fight in a Western movie, and he was playing out that role. You know, we even had a song at the end of it for good measure. So basically, to put it in a nutshell, the boxing went totally out the frigging window. So that's where we are. So when you say it went to plan and he won good, it went out the window. There was no boxing plan there. Well, as a matter of fact, I wasn't needed over there for 6 weeks. I should have sent the strength and conditioner over because that's all he needed.
Or a singing coach.
Yeah.
Definitely the singing coach. But you know what? I probably had more fans on that performance than I would have done boxing like Muhammad Ali. Yeah. Because it was... the heart showed, the emotion showed, the song at the end, the appreciation. They saw how much it meant to me. And I think I gained a lot more people on that fight than I would.
Well, the Americans loved you. I think it was on the, the NBC channel. I think they really took to you. They really took to you.
They love that sort of thing, don't they?
Oh, listen, one of the big boys who's not here today, Huey's not here. Didn't make your son, your cousin. He's fighting. Is he fighting on Feb 15 as well?
Yeah, we're trying to get. What's the name of that fighter I mentioned the other day? Matt Greer, is it? Matt Greer, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've put that forward, and hopefully he takes that fight. And
Huey doing okay?
He's doing well. He's training hard, and he's looking forward to fighting on this bill.
And Eddie Chambers has joined your little gang. Yeah. He's put on. I've seen he's already changed shape from when he arrived. That's quite good.
He's coming on fantastic. You know, it's all about putting the work in. You know, I spoke to Eddie, and you know, his first week of training, you know, he was struggling to get up and get out the car. You know, he was aching everywhere. But basically, you know, this is it. You know, if you want to achieve world things, you got to put your heart and soul. You know, it's blood and guts. This game. It's not easy. You know, it's what it is.
Has Eddie been surprised? Because he's a guy that's been in... He's one of those guys a bit like those Americans we were talking about, you know, he's been right down there, been in this gym in the worst part of town, and suddenly he's with you guys. He's in a lovely area, lovely environment, you know, it's nice and sensible. You're not eating meat rations like you do if you're in the army, and suddenly he's having harder in the gym than ever. Has he adapted well?
It's come to a shock to his system, you know, because sometimes the way people train is not the way I train, you know. It's it's hardcore. There's no room for messing around. Yeah. You put everything into it, I don't bother. Yeah. I'm not going to waste my time on somebody pussyfooting up and down the gym. Yeah. You know, it's an hardcore sport on a world level. You got to deal with it. So put your heart and soul into it.
Pete, are you being approached by lots of people to work with them? Obviously, Eddie has come on. He's worked with you in the camps for Hay, and he's obviously come over to join. But are you being approached? Are you getting inquiries from different people?
Not really. I wouldn't say so.
That suits you?
Yeah. I've been asked if we take other fighters on at the minute, and to be honest, you know, we're flat out what we're doing. We took Eddie, because we met him in when he come over for Tyson's camp last year, and he spoke to me about a few of his issues, and I just see that as a challenge for me more than anything, and to help him as well, because it's like anything else. He had very good trainers, Al Bashir, world-class trainers, no doubt, you know. But it's what they do when they leave the gym, you know. And Eddie's diet and everything around his mentality outside of boxing, everything was wrong. You know, so now he's got the ultimate start. His physique's going to be right.
Drastic change.
He'll have drastic changes. You know, he'll be super fit. He's punching through with his shots where he was just tapping with an odd shot like this, achieving nothing, almost in journeyman mode. You know, because when your physique is low like that, you've got to use your ring craft to get through them 10 and 12 rounds. So to get where he got was amazing. But let's see how he goes.
With a bit of conditioning.
Yeah, and the final thing is, and I've said it before, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. He's got to break out of that mould. So he's got to throw 75% more punches.
And he knows that. As long as if he acknowledges it, then you're halfway there, surely.
He does acknowledge it, he realises it, and he's working towards that goal. But ultimately, it's down to him to do it. But he's got to do it because he won't be fighting until he does. Because there's no way I'm going to go in that corner and say effing do this and effing do that with all the spotlights on me, arguing with Eddie in the corner. He won't do what he's told. So I'd rather have it in the gym.
Exactly. Where you can have all you like.
Do what you want.
This
is it.
So we're moving forward now. February the 15th, you're at the Copper Box, which is a great arena, and I think people are going to love that. Del Boy's going to be on the bill. Then another bout with you over here and In Theory over here, and then moving forward, we could see a summer fight in theory between you and Del Boy.
Yep, we could do. We could see the rematch, the long-awaited rematch. You know, he's in shape this time.
He is. He's changed his body.
He only had 4 months last time to get in shape. You know, maybe it wasn't long enough. But you know, maybe another 2 years might have helped him.
Well, listen, you're both better fighters since then, that's for sure. So I think it'll be a better fight next time round.
Yeah, definitely. He's been in with some good people. He's had some good experience. So he's had 4 good wins on the spin. Been active, and I haven't.
Yeah. Good point.
It could be an interesting matchup.
Are you concerned about the... I'm going to ask you, then I'll ask you. Are you concerned about the inactivity?
No, because it hasn't really been an activity. Since April 20th, 2013, I had the 2 camps for David A. And don't forget, I must have sparred hundreds and hundreds of rounds with world-class fighters for the 2 camps, and I've been sparring with Huey and that constantly. I'm back sparring again now, so I've not really been out of action. Not like I've had 2 years off or a year off in the pub somewhere. I've maybe had a month off or so, where I've not done much, but I've still ticked over, if you know what I mean. I'm still semi-fit, but I've still been active, so it shouldn't be too much. And the 2 fights in between against the opposition I'm going to face, it's going to get me in good stead for the rematch with Del Boy.
Peter, do you ever do sparring where you really step it up for 3 rounds and try and simulate a fight? And would that help, or does Tyson not need that as we go into Feb 15 after a big break?
Yeah, sure. You know, when we're working in the gym and we come back sparring, then no, they're not killing each other. There's no point.
Good point.
But you know, when we bring in sparring partners and pay them,
it's different.
Then they're getting paid. So there's no complaints. And it's full-on sparring. It's just like a fight, because the sparring partners are told, get in there and try and knock him out. And if I see them not trying to do that, then what am I paying for? What are we paying for?
What's the point of having them there?
So the answer to the question is they've got to spar and spar heavy.
So those 2 camps, I mean, without putting a figure on it, or you can put a figure on it, must have hit you a little bit in the pocketbook, in the old wallet for the sparring partners for those 2 camps.
Sure did, you know. We can't
Sorry to keep going back to it, but you know,
we can't go into the exact figures, you know. But it cost us all, you know. Mick Hennessy as well. You know, we all put into that camp. You know, but listen, it's not just about the money. It's the time lost, and the result, what we was all looking forward to at the end. Of course, because we was ultra confident. Well, their size, whatever, but, you know, we was ultra confident of that fight. We wanted it desperately, because it would have put Tyson on another platform, to be honest.
You know what, we have a situation here, Tyson. I want to run this by you. When it comes to you and Derek eventually fighting, you know, let's hope you both carry on winning and you actually fight. We actually might have a situation where the 2 of you won't need cages to keep you apart. Because I'll tell you for what, every time I have Derek Chisora on my sofa, he's complimentary about you. Every time I've read you on anything I've ever done, you've been fairly complimentary about Derek, to be honest with you. So might we actually have that situation where the public fancy the fight, there's enough agreed needle, but it won't need cages to separate the 2 boys. Might that happen?
Definitely, you know, we had a bit of bad blood before the first fight.
That's what I thought.
But, you know, when you go in there and you slug it out for 12 rounds in the heat in the middle of summer, then you've got to admire that fighter a bit more, haven't you? He showed that he could stand up and he could take everything I had, and I took everything he had to give.
Good.
So you can't have any bad blood after a fight like that.
No.
Because we both give it everything.
Finish.
And
No excuses.
There's nothing, there's no excuses.
No real excuses, anyway.
And now it's just different game plan, different night, may the best man win.
But you also got him some security, didn't you, for before your first fight with him, to make sure that he felt safe at the press conferences.
Yes, I did.
You got him a couple of. Just remind us about those 2 security guards.
Well, there was conversations of a lot of security going to be there because there was going to be a lot of fighting and whatever. So I decided to hire two midgets to walk me out, all dressed up in security outfits, and they were my personal bodyguards. Pretty funny, actually.
It was very. No, it wasn't pretty funny. It was very funny. And Derek got the joke as well. Yeah. I've got to ask you quickly about David Price. I know you boxed him as an amateur. You got a decision over. He was England's #1, all that kind of stuff. Went to the Olympics. That was then. He lost his way, got beat a couple of times, came back in the weekend, hit someone on the chin, knocked him over. As it was a first round giveaway bet. Do you still fancy fighting David Price down the line? Is that loss, that amateur, that ABA loss, still in your mind somewhere? Have you moved on?
To be honest, I'm not really interested in an amateur loss, you know. It's 5-6 years down the line now. But I would like to see him get back in the mix, you know.
Good.
Not just to build up a fight between me and him, but, you know, what happened to him was... like I was just talking about before, he never had the proper grounding, and he went into a hard fight in world level after 15 fights. And it was a shame, really. Everybody's writ him off. Well, let's not forget, a man can be knocked out. David Price was knocked out before them 15 wins on the spin as an amateur.
As an amateur, yeah.
And people got behind him, and he got 15 wins. So if he gets another few wins and he beats some decent opposition, he's back in the mix. And, you know, anything can happen. He's got the power to knock anybody out. But it's one of them things, you know. I would relish the challenge of having more heavyweights to challenge me in Britain. Especially Britain needs the big heavyweights, and why not David Price?
So the way it looks at the moment is Vitali's gone. He's on the front line. He's not coming back from the front line. These people would just go ballistic. That leaves Vladimir out there. Then we've got Stavern and Areola. You and I already talked about that. We both got in trouble for talking about the last time we talked about it. So we won't go back over those grounds, my friend, because we both had our knuckles wrapped. So it's the truth. Looking forward, you know, Del Boy this year. It's a big summer fight. Let's hope we can get it on. And then we move on towards the end of the year with one of those fights. You should be able to slot into a world title fight chance somewhere, shouldn't you, Peter and Tyson? Surely.
I'm being told the me and Chisora fight's a final eliminator for the WBO.
Bingo.
So whoever wins that is guaranteed a slot as a mandatory against whoever the champion is at that time.
OK, that's moving on. We're nearly done. I've got to ask you one more time, and I think people watching this will be a bit surprised. They'll go, hold on a minute. He ain't a bad fella after all. He ain't a bad fella after all. So if that's the case, why do you upset so many people on Twitter? I've got to ask you.
You know why? Because I enjoy the reaction out of them. If they're that daft to call me a million names and not expect a rebound, you know...
I'm the same as you, don't worry.
You know, I like... My favourite thing is now is say something bad to them and then block them because they can't get back to it. So then you say something to them and then block them and it annoys them even more. But, you know, I'm not really interested in all that anymore, you know. Sometimes you get a bit bored and you want to amuse yourself and you do crazy things, but, you know, we all do stupid things and it's one of them things, isn't it?
No, well, listen, Pete, it's been an absolute delight and a pleasure having you in. I mean, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And, Tyson, it's always great having you in. And I hope people watching this will go, actually, a minute, you might have been taking a mickey all the time. He might not have been serious about that time he said that. Listen, it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much indeed, Tyson.
No problem.
That was Tyson Fury and Peter Fury talking to me earlier. And just to point out, that the reason why that was recorded earlier was that they had to catch a flight and they're flying up in the sky right now. But that was, and I can assure you, unedited. There was nothing cut out from that. That was unedited. And also, I'm also going to tell you this, it's against my journalistic principles to tell Tyson Fury or Peter Fury to watch their language. I don't buy all that watch their language. We're all big boys and girls, even the smallest ones in our company. So trust me, they were not told not to swear. They had carte blanche to say what they liked. Barry, let's deal first of all with the fact that him and Derek Del Boy Chisora look like they're on a collision course. They fight on Feb 15th. They might fight again at the Copper Box in April, and then somewhere Upton Park, Ron Lewis in the Times is saying either June or July.
Well, the fact that it's been talked about, it means it's usually going to happen, especially with these guys. Talking about like Tyson there was open to it, wasn't he? He would probably be the only stumbling block, because he'd want to. He may be just a little bit ahead of Derek at the moment, so he may want to go further on. But he wants to fight. It's a big money fight, and they both improved since that fight. That's the good thing.
But the thing I find interesting about it is that neither of them need each other. I know they're going to make some money together. They're going to make some pretty music, as we call it. But if they carried on winning, just like Deontay Wilder and the rest of the top heavyweights out there, if they carry on winning, they'll get a world title fight anyway. So they should be applauded for agreeing.
The good thing about Derek and Tyson, whether you like him or dislike him, they both will just want to fight. That's all it is. They just want to fight the best people they can. And Derek, as we know, we've had him in here a few times. He just wants to be involved in good fights, and Tyson as well, as we know. He just wants to be involved in good and exciting fights. So it'll be a better fight than the first one. The first one didn't live up to expectations.
Just didn't work, didn't it, the first one?
And they were a little bit green, and
yeah,
Derek was overweight. No, Derek is in shape. He's mentally right.
Yeah.
And he's boxing better than he ever before. But so was Tyson as well. So you know. It'll be a good, interesting fight.
He's saying he's over the hay thing. He's saying he's washed hay out of his hair. Are you convinced about that? I mean, you didn't see him in the flesh. I'm convinced. I saw him. I think he's angry because he was going to make good money as well. Hay was going to probably make $5 million. He was going to make good money as well. But I think he's got over the fact he's not depositing that in the bank, and I think he is moving on. What could you tell from looking at it like that?
I think he's that sort of person, isn't he? I don't think he's a guy to dwell on anything. He's one of those guys who'll just go, they have geared up for a fight when it don't happen. No, he'll just... He slagged Derek...
David.
Thank you very much.
He did Derek as well. There's a whole list of them, Barry.
No, but
he just rattled off every name.
You've stated him terribly.
Yeah, he did.
To get him out of his system. I think he'll move on now, you know, and David's thing in the past. Yeah. No, but he got big things to look forward to, haven't he? Yeah. No, he's already beat Kevin Johnson, who's beat Alex Leopold, who's boxing for the world title.
Yeah, bingo.
So, you know, it's all little story, little plots there.
And the beautiful thing about that fight with Kevin Johnson, perfectly respectable opponent, a good opponent, to be honest with you, in my opinion, for Derek, is that, of course, Tyson went 12 rounds with him, won all 12 rounds, but still had to chase him for 12 rounds. So the big thing with Derek, and Johnson's never been stopped, he's lost a couple, is it gives Derek that great incentive, that great big fat juicy succulent carrot, and you're just trying to get it because you stop Johnson. That's good.
Yeah, of course it. Well, that makes their rematch
bingo
all the more juicy, doesn't it? All of a sudden he's going, listen, I've so improved, I'm beating fighters better than you beat them, and that's always a thing that sticks in your claw.
And if he
These streets took my father. But I never quit. Real strength is sacrificing everything for a dream that only you can see. The real fight is getting there. So when I enter the ring,
Já sei que sou vencedor.
I know I've already won. New to clothing, born of real strength.
Don't worry, it will all start boiling up, all start getting hot. On the 15th of February, Box Nation returns to the Copper Box. We love the Copper Box. Derek Del Boy Chisora against Kevin Kingpin Johnson. Tyson Fury against Gonzalo Omar Basile. It will be a big and hefty, and if you know anything about the fights that take place at the Copper Box, a very long night. There's dozens and dozens of boxes on. Frank Buglioni's also on the bill. Yuri Fury looks like he'll be on the field. Fast Eddie Chambers will not be on the bill, but Peter Fury has told me he thinks he might actually be working with us on the night, either just roaming around in the commentary position, maybe doing a bit of punditry. So that'd be fantastic to have Fast Eddie Chambers in the building on that night at the Copper Box. It will be a big night, don't worry about that. We like the nights at the Copper Box, Barry, and I think that if you get those two on either side of the bill, then you get them back on either side of the bill, you're dragging punters in, and that's what this is about.
Well, they're sort of seeing a story, aren't they? A build-up. So, you know, you're going to want to go to the next one going, watch these two now, because the next they're going to be fighting next, and then...
And just briefly, in the past, both Tyson and Derek have been involved in lively conversations with each other and with other fights. Think about the cages that David Hay and Mike and Tyson Fury shared. Okay, they won't be around again, and I think that's quite healthy. I don't mind a little bit of bristle.
It will pick up.
Tension.
If their fight is announced, it will pick up drastically quick. I don't think it'll be all cages and stuff like that, you know, or fences, I should say. But it will certainly be, the cages could be an option.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero, when they boxed, the two Albuquerque kids, because it was all linked into gangs back in their hometowns, they had to have press conferences in different hotels on the Strip, for God's sake. Anyway, that's a long story. I'll save it for another night. Probably one of those German nights when there's about 2 hours between boxing. Or one of those through the night shows when someone knocks someone out in the first round and we've got 40 minutes before the next guys get in doing. Thanks for all your tweets. They are coming in by the bucket load. Glad you enjoyed what you heard and saw there with Tyson Fury and Peter Fury. So we sent Steve Lillis today on a bit of a mission. Go and speak to Derek Del Boy Chisora, Steve, and shake him up. Get something from him. Did it work? Well, let's find out.
Derek, you're fighting Kevin Johnson at the Copper Box. Will you be able to make a statement and perhaps stop him?
That guy, he's a big talker. When I make a statement, we'll see how it goes.
Do you expect him to take you 12 rounds?
I expect to go 12 rounds with him. I think I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to bring him into a fight.
How hard would that be? Because when he fought Tyson, didn't he just come to survive, didn't he, really?
He came to survive, you know. Tyson done a great job on him. Klitschko brothers trying to knock him out, couldn't knock him out. So it's just a difficult fight.
On the British heavyweight division, how exciting is it now for all you Brits? Because there's yourself, there's Tyson, and David Price won the other night.
Yeah, you know, I say to David, I always say, you know what, shouldn't chuck the gloves in, he just needs to change. Him changing and getting a new trainer, I don't think that was the case. The case here was David had to stay with his trainer and make it right, both of them. You know, I lost 4 fights with Don. I never thought about changing Don. I decided to change the way I approach my work in the gym and the way I approach so many things. And Don was still the same trainer, and now we're still getting along.
Yeah. And of course, the last time you fought Tyson Fury, you wasn't at your best. How much have you improved since then?
I improved so much. I think he's improved better. So we'll see how it goes anyway. But for now, Kevin Johnson is on the way.
Is it hard for you to not think of a WBO final eliminator that's just a few months away?
And I'm the European champion. You know, it's been waiting for somebody to come and take the European champion away from me, but there's nobody there. So for now, I just doing a 12 round for something else I don't know for.
And what do you think of Tyson as a person?
As a person, me and him are cool. We don't have bad blood. He don't trash talk me on Twitter. He don't trash talk me in real life when I see him. We don't have any bad blood. He's got respect for me. I got respect for him.
Yeah, and he clearly has got respect for him. I like that bit of mutual respect. You've got to love Derek Del Boy Chisora, and anybody that's listened to me on various things I've done or read stuff I've written over the last 5 or 6 years will know I do. I really do like. I've got a soft spot for Derek, and what I particularly like is when his first answer is something like this. Yeah. You just gotta love it. If he didn't do that, I'd be upset, Barry. But also, he's quite right. Quite right what he says there. He's going to, as he said, quote unquote, I'm going to make a statement, and he could make a statement.
It's a big ask if he gets the stoppage.
Yeah, big ask.
I don't think Derek's a massive one punch hitter, I think he wears you down with his pressure. His relentless pressure is the key, and that's because he's lost a bit of weight. He's more mobile.
Yeah.
I think, you know, with a heavyweight, you want him to put on weight. You know, I think a lot of heavyweights think you should be heavy, you know, to absorb a shot maybe. I don't know, but I think because he's lighter, that rolling Joe Frazier type of style suits him, and he can do it when lightly. It's the faster he can be. He can get in, and the speed hurts, as you know.
But it's not like he's dropped down to that where Eddie Chambers went down and toyed with being a cruiserweight. He's only dropped. He's still a big heavyweight.
But more importantly, his frame has changed. We see him coming in here. You know, it's literally like a massive transformation. There, just the shape is there. His waist is thinner. Shoulders are looking like bigger, and I think so. He's eating the right way. He's living the right life now. He realises it's serious.
But he might be able to get closer, quicker to Johnson than Vitali and Tyson did. Remember, they're different types of athletes. Both great athletes in their primes. Vitali, who's obviously on the front lines now, you know, in Kiev, leading the revolution, risking a bullet every second of his life. And Tyson's getting into great shape, but they're not going to be as fast and as quick and as nifty and shifty as the new Dell.
Well, all their powers at the end of the punch, isn't it? So they punch from long range because they're big, tall guys. So they punch from distance. So maybe Johnson has some sort of knack where he can see things coming a little bit and just you know, tense for the shot or ride the shot. But then it gets close, and they're sometimes hard to see the punches in close. You don't see the uppercuts coming sometimes. So that's where he might. Listen, he does well to get a stop. I think he'd do tremendously well. I don't fancy him getting the stoppage, but if he did,
but if we can build it, and if the crowd there can sort of get behind it,
massive,
I mean, I just fancy we may have something with this copper box. I think we might get there. Okay, now what we introduced a couple of weeks ago, once we sort of came back from our festivities, was that we'd actually have a bit of news, because people said to me, Bunce, you did realise today on the show you didn't actually mention anything that was coming up. You just talked and had a laugh and talked to different fighters and talked to fighters that retired 50-odd years ago. Well, that's true. So we'd like to bring a bit of news. There's a couple of little items that have struck me, really. Obviously, the big story at the moment is George Groves and Carl Froch. It's a massive story. Before Christmas, they fought, as you know. It was a great fight. Carl got dropped early in the fight, came back brilliantly, and the fight was stopped. And at the point of the stoppage, George Groves was leading the fight. He was in front. It was no one's disputing he was in front. And the referee intervened. Howard Foster stopped it. Cue controversy, screams and shouts. Carl didn't seem to be very interested in a rematch at the time. But then his promoter started talking about 80,000 seats and it would be worth millions and billions and trillions. Everyone seemed to get interested. Carl still wasn't interested. Last week, Carl talked about how he could fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And then George Groves was offered from Carl Froch's promoters a 7-figure sum to fight Carl Froch. And didn't reply to that. So consequently, it was suggested George had said no. It wasn't that he'd said no, as Barry and I found out today. Quite simply, Barry, he knew when he was made that offer that the IBF, the International Boxing Federation, were about to stick a rule down, that he had to get a rematch with Carl Froch inside 90 days. So that's late April. Right. So that's why he didn't say no, is because he knew that was coming.
That's right, and it wasn't just the rematch, it was the immediate rematch. That was the most important thing, and obviously they feel that George was wrong. Well, the fight was really still unanswered, who the winner really is. Even though Cal won, obviously Cal won, but there's too much controversy, you have to pick a genuine winner. Yeah. So they say the rematch again, that's fair enough. Yeah. And you can understand, George, 7 figures is a tremendous sum, but listen, he ain't getting the right percentage if he thinks he's going in on a 50-50 even keel, which he thinks he is now.
And also George said that 7-figure sum included more than one fight. So I asked George just quickly and briefly. I said, George, have you spoken to Eddie Hearn since then? He said, no. He said, but I've had a few flirty texts. Hey, perhaps Eddie was sending them to the wrong person. Also news coming up in April the 5th. It looks like, it's not 100% confirmed. It looks like Enzo Macronelli, former WBO cruiserweight champion, will challenge this man, Jürgen, the German Bremer, one of my favourite fighters. You know why? Because he just looks like a guy from the pub. And he's a good fighter. Jürgen Bremer, Macronelli, could be April the 5th out there. I'm told that Enzo jumped at the chance. Bremer's a much better fighter than most people think. And also, there's going to be some big news coming up this week, and hopefully we'll have them on the sofa. Carl Frampton, big night coming up. I don't know, will it be in Belfast? I wonder. Of course it will be in Belfast. We'll tell you about it next Monday. Now, this weekend in Monte Carlo, which is a fantastic place to go if ever you've got a chance to lose a few quid, Gennady Golovkin defends his world middleweight title. And down on the undercard, there's a guy called Dean Byrne. We like Dean Byrne. He's been on the sofa here. He's been in a few fights. He's fighting a guy who's unbeaten. A guy whose his fighting name is Roman Belyaev, but his real name was Roman Adamovich. So just one letter out from being a billionaire. So Burns fighting him, okay, made me chuckle as well. Burns fighting him, and I caught up with Dino a bit earlier on, and I asked him if he'd seen anything or if he knew too much about Roman Adamovich Belyaev.
He can punch. He was a very good amateur, and he can punch. He can punch a bit. That's pretty much it I know about him, you know.
Dino, you're moving your way back after a couple of sort of setbacks, and then you had that fantastic draw with Carson Jones. Your 2 wins out of your last 3 fights. I'm going to be honest with you here, Dean. Is this not a bit of a risky fight to take?
It's a risky fight, but this is the fight game we're in. You know, if you don't take the risk, how are you going to be the champ? You know what I mean? I believe I can beat this guy. I believe that he beat Frank Horta, so I can get that monkey off me back because I took the, you know what I mean. So it's a risk reward really, and all the reward will be coming to me.
No, listen, Dean, I admire that in you, and I know, as you say, you know, Horta beat you, and then this guy beat Horta. So if you beat this guy, you take his record, you get the Horta monkey off your back. But for some people that look at boxing and say it's too cynical, there you are, Dean, going in hard fight after hard fight. You really will fight anybody if the occasion's right. Is that a fair comment, Dean?
Well, it is a fair comment, and obviously I've learned from my past. I'm not going to jump in at short notice anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take them risks because I don't need to take them. You know. I'm going to be ready, and I've had 12 weeks to prepare. I've prepared now with a new trainer, Alec Wilkie, and we've prepared well, and went out to Spain, the training camp out in Spain, and everything is going according to plan. Me sparring, me running, everything has gone spot on, you know. I couldn't ask for a better camp, and, you know, please God, everything will come together on the night, and I'll get the win, you know.
Dino, listen, we hope so too. Golovkin's on the bill. I hope the pair of you star out there. Dean Byrne, good luck and enjoy it on Saturday, and thanks for joining us.
I will do. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, he's an old-school fighter, Dean Byrne. He could have gone back in any era, and I mean any era, and existed. Win or lose, he's just got his bag. He's got his gum shield. He gets in there and did it. I thought his career was over a while ago. Hey, let's talk about Golovkin. Let's talk about a guy who, for whatever reason, he seems to be doing everything he's asked to do, and yet still it's not clicking. You know, people aren't falling over to put him in the fights. Is it because, quite simply, Barry, he's too good?
He's dangerous. He's too dangerous. I don't think he brings enough money yet for others to want it. And I think he's exceptionally good. I do think people have got a little bit carried away with how good he is.
Good.
No, you know, he beat Macklin, and Macklin's a really good fighter. There's no disrespect to Matt Macklin, but no, he hasn't boxed great fighter upon great fighter. And early in his reign, he boxed like middleweights.
Yeah.
At middleweight. Let's be honest. I think he's great. I think he could still be great, but let's not get too carried away with him yet. But you're right. He don't carry enough razzmatazz show business really for him to get the big money.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you say there, because if he's fighting this guy Adama, I think, at the weekend, and as you say, a lot of his, I think it's 10 or so title fights have been against guys that aren't really top 20 guys. They're acceptable and respectable, but not top 20. Is there a chance that he has another 4 fights and he sort of just misses the boat a little bit?
We've seen it happen before, haven't we? Yeah. With maybe better fighters, who knows?
True.
But the one thing about Golovkin, though, he's great to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, we love him.
As skillful as he is, you're always waiting for him to land that big shot, and when he does, they usually go jelly-legged. Let's get it right. He's good to watch.
Barry Jones there. Barry, listen, thanks for your company this afternoon or this evening. Thanks to Derek Delboy Chisora for giving us an interview. Thanks for Dino Byrne for picking up the fight. Golovkin, I'd love to see that fight. I'm just a Golovkin fan. I like it. Plus, I love those casino shows. They're completely soulless, but the fights are always good from out there. I've been Steve Bunce. This has been Bunce's Boxing Hour on Box Nation. There's only one way to finish today. The big lad was on the show, Tyson Fury, and we love what he says. There's only one way to finish. It's with a word or two from the big man himself.
In my opinion, I would rather go in there and get flattened completely, trying to win, rather than settle to lose on points. Because what are you when you've lost on points? You're a loser anyway.
Yeah.
If you get carried out, you lose on points, you've still lost. So that, to me, isn't an option. I'm going to swing to the rafters until I either get you or you get me.
Dizem que você vence uma luta antes de entrar no ringue.
They say the fight is won before you enter the ring.
Na favela você começa a lutar no dia em que você...
In my favela